So that was my actually next question about the interest of Turkey for Ukraine membership in NATO, because we can look at the situation just like the mirror. I mean, in this situation, Russia would stop Turkey to accept, to say its word towards Ukraine, to accept it to the NATO, because of the Crimea, because of other interests, like with Sweden and Turkey. So is it possible to have such mirror situation, but with Russia and Turkey?
You know, in Ukraine, we are looking at every possible deeds from the angle that Russians are there, or Russians are guilty in this topic. But we are not taking into consideration national interests of some countries. So in Turkish regards, Russians had nothing to say. Maybe it was used by some media that, oh, Turkey is doing something in favor of Russia, but it's not true. Turkey have been protecting its own interests, and they reach what they need, and they adopt the relevant decision. The same is with Ukraine. So from the very beginning of our efforts to join NATO, the Turkish side was in favor. And from maybe 2007, 2008, it was promoting the idea of consensus among the member states and was highly supportive for our membership. So the declarations which was done by President Erdogan that Ukraine deserved membership in NATO is based on the solid ground and the traditional position of Turkish side regarding Ukraine. So Russians here, won't they this membership or not, have no influence on that. They might try to reciprocate, but today they are very dependent on the Turkish side. And both transit and energy storage and construction of the nuclear power plant and millions of tourists. So, you know, Russia does not have a lot of partners, or at least countries who are listening to them or working with them on different dimensions. And they will not neglect today's position of Turkey just because they are afraid, angry, or something like that. So emotion is not working here. It's a calculation, and you know, if they were angry on some moves from the Turkish side, they will change it immediately when the practical interest will come in force. So we will see if the visit of this criminal guy Putin took place in nearest time.
I cannot avoid this question. I still have to ask you, since the beginning of 2023, Russia has become the leader in terms of exports to Turkey, overtaking China and Switzerland. It's reported by the Turkish Institute of Statistics. So despite the active support of Ukraine, Turkey's trade relations with Russia are at a very high level, as well as the tourists of Russians on resorts in Turkey doesn't stop, which speaks of a policy of, let's say, double standards, or it's just pragmatic situation of interest of Turkey on the first positions?
You know, we couldn't be happy with everything Turks are doing in their foreign policy, because they are, first of all, protecting their own interest, and here they have an economic possibility to develop. Yes, if some issues related to the interests of Ukraine are coming out, like from stolen grain, which last year overflooded the Turkish market, or some other issues related to the supply of weapons or something else, we are in close contact and communication with the Turkish side. But both we and Russia are interested in Turkey, and we couldn't just, let's say, be angry on some topics, but doing with the other topics. So we also, even before the war, we established some kind of parallel tracks of Ukrainian and Turkish strategic partnership, and the tracks which was between Ankara and Moscow. And we try not to overlap them. Otherwise, the results are bad for at least for Ukraine. So that's why we are trying to work on positive side of the story. And when these two lines are very close or overlapping, then there are close discussions, but not public. Just public publicity here doesn't work very good. So it's much more better to have a confident, open, and trustful dialogue. And if we have some concerns, we are expressing it on the highest level, and both presidents, ministers, and my level as ambassador. We are delivering these messages very frequently, and if they are, let's say, deserving that. But vice versa as well, we are receiving some messages. If we need to talk on or discuss some or resolve some issues on the Turkish side, it's also being done with the open manner. So yes, from our side, it looks a little bit strangely, but from the results point of view, it's much more better to have active position of Turkey with the results like grain deal or exchange of prisoners, rather than claim or blame about some, let's say, Turkish-Russian interrelationship or something which we didn't like. So that's why Turkey does not join the Russian sanctions. That's why there is some increase in trade. There are many things which is still being under consideration on both sides, and there is this floor is still open.